Thank you very much, Sjokz. It's Medi, and Mark. We have been here before, and I'm looking forward to bringing you this series today.
We have
King's
a Spark.
match. We have a Spark?
Spark. Mark.
Spark.
Trying to get some bars. Medi was rhyming before. We just rhyme
He's
skis.
just freestyling. Yeah.
It's a super serious series.
Yeah,
You start off with that.
He's just like, I'm freestyling. What's up, everyone? We're for a banger series. We've already had many bangers here in the LEC. I'm sure we're guaranteed another one today. Bit of a rivalry between G2 and Rogue. These two organizations have met multiple times, often in the upper bracket, sometimes in the finals. Often there's a lot on the line. Both of these teams are looking to secure a top 2 seed and an auto buy into the group stage at the World Championship, a guaranteed spot in the finals at Malmo, and basically an increased likelihood of winning the whole damn thing.
Definitely is. We'll see who their competitor will be in the finals. Of course, other teams have looked good. Fnatic on the rise, Mad Lions on the fall. We'll see them tomorrow. But again, yeah, this match just so important that stamping yourself in those group stages.
And obviously, it all comes down to draft in all of these games and how these teams decide to play around each other. G2 are on the blue side to kick us off today as we hear the music building up for our first draft of what is hopefully 5 today. Strong contingent of G2 fans in the crowd. I will say, as I always say when we have a bunch of fans in the crowd, some more inventive charts. You know, Flakked's on fire, your defense is terrified, things like this. You know, bring something new out.
Yeah.
Apart from just the Let's Go G2, which does work. You know, it's a solid one.
Yeah. We'll see if there's any creative ones.
Whereas NA is sus, I think is what he's going for.
NA is sus. That's a pretty good one. So, G2 on the blue side have banned away Lucian now, targeting Comp and Trymbi, of course. G2 overall in their playoffs games have normally banned Poppy, Trundle, Yuumi. Those are the kind of bans they've always been leaning towards. We'll see if that's the case today or if they are willing to first pick things like Yuumi.
What will happen with Kalista? Will Rogue choose to remove it, or will they in fact leave it open? We've seen a lot of priority on things like the Sivir, the Zeri with the cat banned away, Lulu suddenly increases in priority. I wonder if G2 will look to remove that. Of course, Sejuani is something we saw a lot, well, so far in playoffs. Often as a high prio pick, either as a blind because you can flex it both into top and jungle. The Kalista now being removed by G2 suggests that they are looking at something like a potential Sivir early rotation.
Yeah, I think G2 should be a little bit hesitant of the Sivir because Malrang will slam a Jarvan on 1-2, and I think that's something that Misfits was doing. They were banning away Jarvan on blue side for that first pick, and with Trundle being down, that opens up Jarvan a little bit more. We'll see what G2 first pick, though. Could go for it.
Has to be a Sejuani here,
yeah,
surely.
Sejuani. Azir as well.
Oh,
another super powerful pick on this patch, really highly contested. It's going to be Caps Azir locked in. We'll see if Larssen wants to go for some kind of Ahri into it, or a Sylas. We'll see on 3 perhaps. They can pick up their bot lane here.
It also makes sense to take it away from Larssen, right? It is one of his best champions. It's something he's incredibly comfortable on.
Yeah.
And denying it away from him makes a lot of sense. Mad consistently banned that champion away. But we talked about the Lulu. There it is, going to be locked in for Rogue. Now they can set themselves up for success with both the Zeri and the Sivir. Both complement the Lulu very, very well, which means that Rogue will have a very standard, very meta front-to-back teamfight comp already.
I wonder if they'll go for some kind of Renata here into the Lulu. I'm not so sure because with Yuumi being down, normally you see this as the trade-off. What tends to happen is you pick Zeri on 1-2, you expect the Lulu on 3, then you take it away. But we've seen G2 Senna already, and it was a Senna Yasuo that came out. Now I believe the Yasuo is a pick into Sivir, and Rogue smartly here have not picked their AD carry on purpose, knowing that if they do pick Yasuo, they can change up the AD carry pick.
Leaving that as an option for them. Of course, we have seen lots of different iterations of the Senna bot lane. Senna Seraphine, also something that has come to the fore. We saw a lot of Seraphine actually over in NA recently as well. So perhaps G2 are eyeing up that one. Instead, they'll take the Jarvan away from Malrang. He played that 4 times last week against Mad Lions. Has only played Trundle alongside that in playoffs.
You can see the Sivir mind game, right? Rogue don't want to first rotate it because they want to play Jarvan into it, perhaps keep the Sejuani flex alive. G2 don't want to blind Sivir either because they're going to go for a Senna, but they pre-pick a Jarvan, saying to Rogue, if you play Sivir, we'll have Jarvan into it, right? Does Rogue now pivot and go for something different here? Zeri again is open. Might be just the go-to with the dash to get out that Jarvan ult to make the champ overall slightly weaker.
Well, I think Rogue can also now look to ban away the Yasuo if they're still concerned about it. Of course, G2, the expectation is that they will look to ban away junglers now. Likely remove things such as the Wukong. We didn't see much Wukong yesterday, for example, but we do know that these teams are more than happy to play it. Vi is also a strong contention for something that you might want to take off the board.
I think G2 are crazy not to ban away Renekton. If you imagine just a Renekton on 4 here, which can be flexed to mid and top, and it's so well with, it works so well with Sejuani. We saw Odo in their series against Mad. He played 3 games of Renekton, so they know it's comfort with the Ornband coming through. They're denying team fights, so I think G2 needs to be wary of that top lane pick unless BrokenBlade has some kind of counter to it.
The Ornn? Oh, I was going to say, the Ornn suggests to me that the Sejuani is likely going to go into the top lane, but of course, that ability to flex it is, well, it's a very powerful tool, and Rogue can kind of do whatever they want depending on how the draft rounds out for G2 here. Sylas taken off the board from G2. Their focus seems to be on some of the answers that Larssen could go for to try and shit answers here.
Yeah, and I feel like they're banning away mobility mids that are good into Jarvan as well, right? Sylas is one of them, Ahri is another, LeBlanc is another, but that's 3 picks. So I feel like it's a bit difficult to pinch that mid lane pool to stop mobility coming out of Larssen. It will be inevitable. And I wonder if they are going to ban away the Renekton on 4 here. If Rogue's even going to prioritize it, I'd be so very surprised if they didn't. There's the Yasuo ban to cover off the Senna. We're just still waiting to see where this Senna will go. We're expecting Senna Tom. There's the Ahri ban. Could expect Senna Seraphine as well, like we talked about.
So what direction does Larssen go in now? Because typically, we could see something like a Corki or a Victor, traditional kind of scaling mage matchup. Does he have something else prepared, given that Sylas and Ahri are removed?
Akali could be good with the Sejuani.
Does he play Akali?
There's the Renekton. I think it's just a no-brainer. I'm very surprised that G2 didn't just ban it. I mean, there's so many mobility mids that you can't shut them all down. But it looks like G2 are aware of it. They should be if they watched the series against Mad, and I'm sure they did. So BrokenBlade must have a pick into this, and it's going to be the Aatrox. Double melee top side of the mid jungle. That's going to be their answer into this Renekton Sejuani.
And now we get to see how G2 round out their bottom lane. Of course, assuming that Jarvan's going to the jungle. We have seen Jarvan support in the past, but it's been a long time since that was brought out, and often teamed up with something like a Kalista. And Targamas just trolling us a little bit there with the Lehen's shout out.
Oh, is it Flakked Sion, baby?
No, instead, Swain, Sion, set, Tarek. Where are we going?
What are we doing? It's a
Seraphine.
They're going to do Senna Seraphine. I like this a little bit more than compared to other Seraphine bot lanes that we have been seeing, just because I think that it gives you that AD carry, that range, that strong scaling AD damage that you have in the late game as well, which means that you should be able to match the Zeri later on into the game. Of course, Zeri is a little bit of an unrivaled monster when it comes to late game team fights, but how will Rogue now round out their draft?
Are they going to flex the Renekton mid? It looks like they're hovering for a Gwen into the Aatrox. No, they're just going to go for the Taliyah to actually pressure those sides. Taliyah, Renekton so powerful on the 3-man setup towards top side. G2's comp is very strong at front to backs. You have Senna Seraphine with an Aatrox. You know Aatrox Yuumi can tear up a team fight. Senna Seraphine Aatrox can do basically the exact same thing. So I'd be very scared of for Rogue if they don't have enough DPS to actually kill that Aatrox, or they can't find flanks onto this Senna Seraphine. Top side will be Rogue's focus. G2 need to match it. I think bot lane will be more so farming central.
What an interesting matchup. Obviously, team fights are very prevalent in the current meta. I think it's a large part of why we've been seeing so many close series throughout the world, the 3-2s, because a lot of games are decided by individual prowess, who can make that outplay, who ends up outscaling who, how do you execute upon those team fights. And I feel like we're going to get to see some very exciting team fights already here in Game 1.
Definitely, and just going back to early games again, the only person who can shake these early games up is Jankos on the Jarvan. Maybe just a cheeky level 2 gank bot after a buff, maybe late invade towards the other side of the map after a buff, you know, do a red to blue or something along those lines. But other than that, if it's stock standard, Rogue should have the stronger 3v3s and 2v2s in the early stages. They should have a little bit more push to work with, but G2 scaling, definitely something to keep into consideration.
It's quintessentially Rogue, having Cryo in the lanes, winning through the laning phase. G2 have been able to upset that apple cart a few times over the last few years. Of course, last time these teams met with finals of spring, and G2 demolished Rogue in a 3-0 sweep. I'm sure Rogue want a little bit of vengeance, want a little bit of payback for that. Game 1 on its way though, Rogue versus G2. Let's get into it.
You guys think there's some G2 fans here today?
Yeah, I can hear them.
I can hear 1 or 2.
It's like a gnat buzzing beside.
A lot of support for G2 today. And they might need it. Of course, Rogue looking quite strong. We expected them to lose to Mad. A lot of people put Mad as the favorites, but they came out swinging in the 5-game series. Very close indeed. There was games where Rogue were down 3-4k gold, still came back with good team fighting, good picks, good punishing of mistakes. And we saw there Odoamne just killing out Jankos' ward, so that'll help him get level 2 on the first wave. Jankos can go over to red. I think the only real cheeky thing Jankos can do here is red into bot or red EQ over and go to blue. But I'm just going to highlight one thing that I think was quite smart by Rogue here. They just put a ward in the middle of the river, so that just makes it
Jarvan.
so... The classic Jarvan ward is what you could call it, or the Kindred ward, or old school Camille jungle ward, where they do buff into buff, and you need to be able to see them doing it.
Because they can go over the wall, right? They can circumvent the more traditional wards. And
exactly.
This basically becomes the standard ward when playing against these champions. So Rogue are very adept at, or rather aware and have experienced this before. Comp can drop that sweeper to clear out some of the vision that might be in the bot side river, but it does look like Malrang pathing up towards the top side of the map. You already talked about it, Caedrel. Idea behind Rogue's early game should be to play towards the top side of the map to try and make stuff happen around this Renekton, to try and get this Renekton ahead in the early game. Jankos, for the time being, looking to mimic and mirror Malrang's path.
Yeah, he's just gonna have to cover, basically. I don't think they're ever gonna really win a 2v2 straight up. Sejuani Renekton's really powerful, especially at 6, so they have to be very careful in how they pick and choose fights. There's the level up on the first wave that I think BrokenBlade just got a little bit surprised by, because Odoamne got that ward. Does take a bit of a hefty trade, but manages to get one back onto Odo, and the only real way that G2 can win in these 2v2s topside is if maybe Jankos is in top rush, can EQ out to knock up Odo before Malrang arrives, so we'll keep our eyes on who gets the top first.
So you guys have had your 2 minutes of talking, you know, the initial build-up into the game. Can I do a play-by-play thing for a second?
As you like.
Okay, 1 second. I have to get it up. Here we go. Woo! 200 games for Larssen. Congratulations, 200 games in the LEC for Larssen. I wanted to give you guys the time to talk about the jungles and parting.
Good celebration. He's been
a mid laner that's kind of, I still remember when he came in, it feels like he's quite new to the league, even though obviously he's now a stalwart of this league, one of our most consistent playoff reachers and one of our most consistent mid laners.
Yeah, I think it was 2019 summer when he came in, because I remember he had school during spring and was playing on the academy. And then they were a lot stronger in summer than they were in spring when they finished last place, and then massive bounce back.
I mean, there was so much hype around him coming into the league as well, especially when there was Humanoid that came in the year before.
Abadaga was there at the same time.
And it was kind of this, we had a lot of talented mid laners, and it's been really interesting tracking the generational mids that have come here into Europe. We'll see how he does in this series up against Caps, one of his long-time rivals now, and kind of a person that's often got in his way. Malrang level 4, hovering around the top side of the map. They should have seen that Scribe's Bloom being popped. Jankos and Malrang will now meet face-to-face.
No EQ on the Jarvan, so Malrang seems pretty confident, but misses the Q and the
Everything is on cooldown.
Everything's on cooldown. It's just a stare down. Malrang didn't get that top crab because he went for a full clear, so now he knows he can backtrack to bot side to get a crab if he wants, so he's going to base and do so. Jankos there was just covering a dive in case Malrang was going for it on that stacked wave. Just looking for a little bit of vision, and Jankos crucially got that pink ward in his jungle.
So nothing too chaotic. Kind of everything going as we expected in the early game. Jankos pathing to protect his top side. BrokenBlade struggling a little bit in the isolated 1v1 as you'd expect. BrokenBlade should be able to outscale as the matchup goes further into the game. But pretty much a farm fest for game 1. Nothing too surprising given the compositions that we have. Both Caps, Larssen trading back and forth in mid, bot lane doing exactly the same. So that gives us an opportunity to talk a little bit about the history between G2 and Rogue, because for those that don't know, these two teams have played a number of times, and you can see it's a little G2 favorite.
Just ever so slightly, ever so slightly.
In the playoffs, though, is where things get a little bit more competitive, but overall, G2 have kind of had Rogue's number, and it was G2 that 3-0'd Rogue last split. It is G2 that is often getting in the way. Even back when Hansama was on this roster, I remember, I believe it was back in 2020, Rogue pushed G2 all the way to 5 games, and Rogue was looking incredibly strong to then have G2 that go on and then just 3-0 the final. It was a pretty incredible stuff from Rogue, and I think the organization has now become a mainstay at the top of Europe, but G2 as an organization has often gotten in their way and looks to do so once again today.
And the thing for Rogue is they have so consistently been near the top, they've just never quite made that final step. You look at it, third, second. Every summer, they end up third, or at least over the last couple of years. They want to try and break that trend this year. And for players like Odoamne as well, this guy's been in the league for absolutely yonks and has still yet to be able to claim an LEC title for himself.
Yeah, 2015, 2016, back on the H2K days, Odoamne, then Splice and all that good stuff. So been moving around. Schalke to a couple of teams, never really found that title, and he's looking for it this year. They managed to take down Mad, they've locked World Championship, they want to lock a spot in the finals as well. Caps.
Good knockback onto Caps there, can eat across and Q out as well. Manages to escape, it takes half his health for the pleasure of doing so.
Hurts the mana bar a lot though. Let's just look at mid lane for now. Larssen, no pots, yes, but basically full HP, full mana. Cap struggling a lot. He has a health potion to work with, but that mana bar is going to take up very slowly, so Larssen can just push these waves in as quick as he wants and then look to roam top, roam bot, maybe even take a base if he has this much tempo. Just needs to be very careful of Jankos, who's in the vicinity. See if Malrang tries to help Larssen on his waves or just go back to his camps for now as Jankos is on that pink.
Ping does come down from Larssen. Drop the control ward. Both mid and jungle will see each other.
Should fight this.
He's going to.
Knockback just wide. Yeah, because with a good sidestep, as you say.
Bit of a blunder from Rogue. They just lost 2 pinks in the top side of the river when they have this much mid push. I think Larssen was probably calling Malrang to fight this and stop him from being able to take that pink, but Malrang wants to finish his camp. So they managed to take Jankos' pink away, but they don't keep that vision that they do need if they want to keep up this mid push. Cap still struggling a lot in this lane, allows Malrang to run up to the top side.
Keep your eyes on what's happening on the map right now because Caps doesn't have TP and needs to go back to base. They know that Jankos has cleared his top side because they saw him on those control wards. And now you've also got the Lulu on the roam. Larssen can push in this wave and actually look to set up a dive top. In fact, they may already go for it now.
And BrokenBlade doesn't have TP, does have the flash to get out of this. The wave trying to stack up slowly. Trymbi on his way up. No vision for BrokenBlade. Starts to back away. Malrang trying to cut him off at the pass as they would get a little bit of damage down, but BrokenBlade, good little dodging to the side, will escape because Malrang's half HP. BrokenBlade can step back forward.
But they might redive this because Trymbi's here. They don't know that Targamas is here though, so he's matching support. This could go horribly wrong.
First stun onto BrokenBlade. Odoamne slices away, has to flash away from the Q2. Pulled back by the Infernal Chains though, and the chase is on. Targamas and BrokenBlade trying to chase down Odoamne up towards the top side. No flash on the Croc, and first blood to G2. Larssen coming in with Weaver's Wall as they look for BrokenBlade. No flash on him means this is a very difficult escape. Tries to get around. Malrang flashes over him to dodge the Q, and that will be a counter kill for Rogue.
In comes Jankos though, level 6. No flash on Malrang. He's on a ward. Does he want to commit here? Larssen's low on mana. Caps is pushing in mid. So there'll just be a 1-for-1. Really good response by Targamas. Read the map very well. Knows that Trymbi's going to go for this roam, and Caps is freed up so much now. He's up a wave. Will be able to push this next one in. Will get a plate, and G2 are on the Herald.
Yeah, what made this very awkward for Rogue was the moment that Odoamne commits underneath the tower and then decides to disengage, Trymbi and Malrang run away from Odoamne, which makes it very easy for BrokenBlade and Targamas to then just commit onto Odoamne, creating this numbers advantage. So you'll see here, as Odoamne engages and they recognize that Targamas is there and they no longer want to commit to the dive, Trymbi actually backs away because he recognizes he'll put himself in melee range of BrokenBlade, and that leaves Odoamne isolated. The only bright side here is that Larssen is able to quickly rotate from mid up towards the top side, and they're able to get a return kill.
They are indeed, but it's first blood to G2, first blood to BrokenBlade, who is under so much pressure. It's a response from your Rogue, yes, onto Malrang, but look at your minimap. Caps just pushes in mid, who's struggling in the lane, has a 100 gold lead now, and they have the Herald in their pocket. G2 on the response, looking for a dive of their own.
Odoamne, no ultimate for 5 seconds. Malrang trying to put the damage down here onto Jankos as well. Jankos flashes away because Larssen's on the way. Glacial Prism's going to connect Larssen with the knockback there as well. Cataclysm coming out from Jankos. He's low already though, and he might fall first. He will go down. Trymbi looking for a bit more of a chase, and BrokenBlade, nowhere for him to go. Caps could slide and glide in, decides against it. Double over to Larssen.
Really good response by Rogue now. G2 are the ones over forcing this dive, looking for some kind of 3v1. They saw Malrang, but Larssen and Trymbi are quick to respond. Caps just that little step behind because of the Taliyah push. And now it's Rogue who find themselves with another 2 kills. Larssen going to TP back to mid.
Props to Larssen. Criticism has been thrown his way with regards to his performance, typically on the Taliyah, because we don't see him getting out of lane very often. We see him treating the Taliyah like a conventional control mage, but already we've seen 2 roams come out from him, and he's been involved in every single one of the early game kills.
As indeed, so look at your minimap here. Caps is just 1 step behind, and so they're 3-man top looking for a dive, but the Jankos is split. Ult was great. Larssen follow up on his combo on the Sejuani ult just means that this Jarvan Aatrox are locked in a stun zone. Trymbi's there as well. Targamas gets zoned out, and by the time Caps arrives, 1 member's down and the other one's short to follow.
Very clean play from Rogue, and they just responded so quickly. This is something that having spoken to Odoamne in the past, he was often like, you know, I would tell my team, I'm about to get dived, and then no one would move. But now you can clearly see, he sets that expectation, hey guys, there's a huge stacked wave, I know I'm going to get dived on this next wave, they're going to try and shut me down. And if he dies there, this Aatrox Renekton matchup becomes much harder for him. Yeah. So really good on Rogue to be able to cover for him, dissuade the dive, and now he's very much still in this game, and Rogue find themselves with a small gold lead.
Yeah, ever so slight, about 700 gold ahead right now. You can see top mid jungle and AD carry ahead for them. Only a lead for Targamas in that support role, obviously getting the assist, helping him out, and it's a lot easier to stack as Senna when you want your support item built up, so he's probably got a bit more gold from that.
Just thing I want to highlight back towards the top side that Betty was just mentioning is this is a Renekton Aatrox lane, but this is not the old Renekton Aatrox versions where you go Sterax and Black Cleaver. This is going to be Eclipse versus Blade of the Ruined King. Incredibly squishy, incredibly volatile. Both of these will get melted in team fights, but they will dish out a lot of damage, so it's almost like a triple threat comp from both sides. G2, of course, have that Seraphine more for a supportive tool and Jankos for the engage, but it's on Caps and BrokenBlade to carry through these fights.
Caps has gone for the crown of the Shattered Queen to start off. G2 trying to make a play down towards the bottom side. Vision control though for Rogue will spot them out. The Herald goes down still. He needs a bit of a chip damage on that tower, otherwise the Herald won't fell it in one swoop. Rogue still trying to defend this. If Herald goes forward, I mean, Malrang's willing to step past this. They might be able to... I was a little bit quick on that one. The smite was available for Malrang, but they don't quite manage to take down the Rift Herald before it charges in. Gold back in G2's pockets.
And the gold, maybe not the best targets. You know, it's going over to the Senna Seraphine, that's great. They'll be incredibly supportive, but Caps has the crown of the Shadow Queen for now. He's able to contest a little bit of mid push with this blue buff, with Jankos being around, with some kind of vision on mid. And Trymbi not having flash means it's so hard to contest bot push. You know, you're against a Jarvan. The second you overstep, even if he comes through lane, Jankos could just do an EQ through lane and chase you down. So Rogue have to give up that push, but now they want to retake this bot side jungle. Malrang's going to find Jankos.
Jankos can EQ out of this one. Caps looking for Larssen in the mid lane. Does still have flash and a heal. Larssen uses neither. Glacial isn't going out. Stopwatch used as well by Larssen. Now he's going to try and escape after this, but he just can't get out quickly enough. G2 take another kill. The charm hits onto Trymbi, and there's no way for the Lulu to escape. G2 with 2.
The 4-man collapse from G2 was much faster than Rogue. You can see the comp was a little bit delayed. I mean, I think he even went back to base there, and G2 just leveraging their numbers advantage were able to shut down Rogue and secure a big skirmish win.
Also great TP by Flakked. It doesn't TP to creeps. It's not 14 minutes in, but he TPs to mid-tier 1 the second that exchange kicks off, so he's just in time to pick up a second kill. Look at the reaction time. Already TPing mid because Caps is calling that he wants to go onto Larssen, so he's pre-TPing. Larssen could flash to the side here, maybe get a Lulu ult, but I think he will die anyway because Flakked can follow with the ult, so wants to save that summoner, and then Trymbi not having flash means he falls.
Yeah, you have to question why Larssen chose not to flash the initial play, and you have to wonder, while he looks at the minimap, he sees Malrang with him, he sees Trymbi with him, and he's thinking to himself, I can outplay this, we can actually win this skirmish. The biggest difference there was the arrival of Flakked, the numbers advantage that G2 did have, resulting in 2 kills going in their back pocket. So we've got a pretty close early game. We didn't expect a lot of action, but already we've got 3 kills on either side. G2 find themselves with a bigger advantage due to the plates that they've been able to accrue down towards the bot side of the map. Let's see where the next play will be. We keep our eyes on top lane once again. Odoamne has the push, did invest his TP. It looks like that Malrang's going to go back to base. Nothing too crazy going to happen.
Jankos hovering around bot. Maybe wants to force a flash out of Trymbi again so they can keep this bot push up, because now Trymbi and comp have their sums up. They can be a bit more aggressive on these waves. For now, it looks like Jankos is just going to help them get a push out.
I mean, if you can push out quickly here, you've got 20 seconds before the final plate would fall off. So if you were able to get to that tower, you could have taken it. Obviously, they decide against that. They just want to shove the wave in, and they will back away now. Almost caught by comp, but he's fine.
I was going to mention is, if you keep your eyes on the minimap, you'll notice the Caps is going to start getting funneled, all of these Raptor camps. You can already start to see a 30 CS discrepancy being built up in mid lane. A part of that is due to the early roams that we saw from Larssen, on top of the fact that Larssen then did get killed, but even more farm is being funneled into Caps. And for anyone that watched last week, Caps' Azir was pretty monstrous. He had a pretty incredible performance on it last week. He was really popping off when playing against Misfits. And he's a player that is worth investing those resources into, and he's going to only reach those item power spikes even faster as more gold and farm gets funneled into him.
Yeah, he's so strong right now, Caps. Rogue are going to get this bot tier 1 in response. They don't have a wave just yet, but it should die on the next one, and it looks like Jankos is setting up the second Herald so they can crack open that mid tier 1. All of Rogue hovering down here in case anyone of G2 wants to cover this tower or try to defend it. They're going to call their bluff and instantly engage on them. See how much they push for here is the question, because G2 can look for top tier 1, but there's not many threats of a dive, so Odoamne is pretty safe for now. Caps is on his way up, and if they show here, that's safe over 2 towers.
Odoamne has the Curse of the Sands. He's going to try and get away from this one, but there's just no escape for him. Caps shreds him! Absolutely melts through the croc, and now with Rift Herald, G2 can look for perhaps even a tier 2 in the top lane if they want.
Yeah, Blade of the Ruined King, Renekton incredibly squishy. Has the ultimate, yes, but Caps has enough damage to take him down. Looks like they're going to counter jungle away Malrang's red buff. They got this bot tier 1. And now G2 respond with a Herald and a top tier 1 of their own and the kill.
Targamas' ultimate being extremely helpful in setting up that dive as well. Did actually clip onto Odoamne, getting good damage down, which means that G2, they'll be able to secure the top tower. You can see that bot tower as well. It's very low for Rogue, so they can leverage this Herald to break open mid and really limit Larssen's impact on the map. G2 setting themselves up nicely. They fell behind a little bit in the early game, but already they're back out on the map and they're looking good.
BrokenBlade should be able to get away from this one. You can see Comp has the most gold in the game, but then you look at Caps, Flakked, BrokenBlade, all sitting up near the top of that chart. That's really where you want your gold funneled if you are G2. Larssen, after those couple of plays early on, hasn't really been able to have too much of an impact moving around the map either. It's been G2 who've been the proactive team, and now we have to see how Rogue deal with the fact that G2 are in the lead.
Dragon spawns in about a minute and a half. The question is, who's actually going to look to contest it? Because there is a world where Rogue can just choose to concede it if they don't feel that they're strong enough right now. But you have to remember that Azir, Senna, Seraphine is only going to continue to scale the longer this game goes. Good route.
That catch it. No real escape for Larssen. Tries to flash away, but you just can't escape that route over the wall. A bit of vision from G2. That singular ward spotted Larssen backing away, and even his flash was too late. Tier 2 going down in the top lane, bot lane as well, and the mid lane tower will fall. It's a huge gold injection for G2.
It's a massive play there. Getting that pick means so Jankos can use Herald bot. There's no threat of a Taliyah ult down to contest the 2v2. They get a mid tower because you have no wave clear in Zeri's top. G2 have just blown the game wide open.
It's 5,000 gold.
Yep.
Like 4.5.
G2 have just ballooned this game off of a single play. And like, you got to remember that it goes back a little bit further than this too. The cross map that happened where Rogue committed to securing the bot tower in exchange for the Herald. G2 not only got the Herald, they got a dive tops, they also secured the first tower. Then when they came back out onto the map, they found a pick onto Larssen, took the mid tower, which they didn't need to use the Herald for, and they had the push in bot, dropped the Herald there. Like, so many things happened sequentially that have allowed G2 to very quickly accrue a 4K gold lead and put themselves in a commanding position and set up nicely for the Drake spawning in 10 tech.
Just look at the items. Caps really close to level 13 right now. Going to be 2 levels up over Larssen. 2 items completed. And now Rogue look like they want to contest the Dragon, but I'd be a bit scared to do this. Yes, you're first to the objective, but Caps is on his way. Flakked's going to TP back. Not sure what he's going to pick up. G2 don't want to let this one slide. See if Rogue just disengage this or if they want to find a flank with Malrang. He's been spotted now, though.
Flakked a little bit slow to this, does have the Rylai's Crystal Scepter complete. Glacial Prism going down, only hits onto Jankos, and Jankos secures the smite. Rogue now on the back foot, the Weaver's Wall will separate G2 for the moment. Comp trying to step forward as well with that lightning crash. The dive in, the Cataclysm not enough. Comp's still very healthy on this back line, but G2 advancing 4 members strong. Only Odo and Comp on this side of the wall as Caps looks to go forward, but he can't catch onto Comp, who's kiting back, but really not doing too much damage, tickling more than anything. Caught in the Infernal Shades, dodges to the side, but BrokenBlade very happy just to walk away from this one. Comp taking more damage than his worth as Targamas flashes can't quite get enough to take him out.
Good damage from Targamas. You can see the blood in his eyes as he tries to execute Comp, but it's G2 that walk away the victors once again. Yes, Jankos did lose his life, and he lost it very quickly. I was surprised by how quickly he died. Let's have a look back at this exchange.
Most importantly, though, he stole the Dragon, so now G2 are sitting at 2 Drakes. Let's see how quick the Jarvan dust dive is, because it looks like they piled a Senna ult on top of this Jarvan ult, and that was the turn. With it.
Yeah, Senna was too late.
He just disappeared.
Instantly disappeared, but they managed to get Malrang in response, and like you said, man, Comp's just not doing any damage. I mean, they have healing from the Senna Seraphine, but even BrokenBlade with this squishy kind of full damage Aatrox build with the lethality just doesn't fall. Targamas gets Comp on the end of it, doesn't manage to get the kill, but pushed him out of the fight.
And it's something we talked about yesterday, which is range. Range can be such a powerful factor, especially in extended fights, because every time Caps hits you with one of his soldiers, that damage is going to stick. Every time Larssen hits you with one of his Qs, it's not, because there's double healing from both the Senna and the Seraphine. So the longer the fight goes on, the more time G2 have in a fight, the better and easier it is going to be for them to win.
Yeah, time is their best friend. Time in a fight, time in the game, anything in terms of scaling or slowing things down. But right now, G2 the one speeding things up. They managed to take 4 towers after a single pick or 3 towers after a single pick, and now with the mid tier 2 down, they can walk into this top side jungle, put as much vision down as they want. Azir, of course, very fast at doing the Baron on 2 items as well, 3 items. So G2, when that spawns, will have a threat of it. Rogue need to look for picks. Maybe they can catch Caps out when he tries to push out these top waves. Larssen can ult through the lane, Malrang can look for a flank, but Jankos is covering it.
And Rogue need to look to one of their players who's consistently stepped up for them when it matters through the regular season and through playoffs. Comp has been an incredibly consistent AD carry for this team. So often the reason his team is able to win games is through that bot lane. And here, on the Zeri, he has the opportunity to carry once again. It is a very difficult road. He is dealing with a Seraphine, dealing with a Senna, but he's got a Lulu by his side, and I've seen what a Zeri-Lulu combination can do.
For sure. Really, this whole game is going to be determined by whether or not comp can have a meaningful impact.
Have a Zeri moment, I think, is the phrase you're looking for.
G2 have a very powerful comp. Props to the bot lane of G2.
Comp's actually playing for Rogue.
No, I know that, but yeah. I meant...
Rogue have a very powerful comp.
No, G2 have a very powerful comp.
No, because he plays for Rogue.
No,
oh my god.
TP going down towards the bottom side as Odoamne's caught out a little bit here. Caps with the TP behind. Odoamne still very squishy on this Crocodile. See you later, Alligator. Odoamne dies.
Meanwhile, Crocodile, now it's Malrang looking for the engage.
Trying to get onto that backline. Polymorph going out as well. Trymbi trying to get in as well, but he just can't do it. Trymbi down, Jankos takes him. And look at Targamas and Flakked, they're still full HP. Comp can get nowhere near this. Larssen was stopped from joining the fight. Caps now sliding in from the side as well. Malrang forfeit, double for Jankos. G2 are schooling Rogue.
That should be Baron as well with 30 seconds on the enemy jungler. We're seeing the power of G2's comp when they can group up, when they own the map, when they're this far ahead. Rogue had a slim chance in the early stages with the Sejuani Renekton to look for plays, but G2's comp's just running away with it. Caps, Jankos and BrokenBlade running away with it. And now they sit pretty happy after this Baron falls. That top tier 2 should fall shortly afterwards when they get the setup. And we'll look at this one again.
So, Odoamne, he's just looking to clear out the wave. He's a little overextended on the bot side with no one playing towards him. Caps with a good teleport, along with the Senna ultimate, is enough to get that pick. But Rogue, I think very wisely used this opportunity to try and force a fight mid. They know they have the numbers advantage, and it's a really good ultimate, but you can see that Comp isn't close enough. He doesn't actually get to follow up on that engage, and Trymbi just gets executed by Jankos solo. Larssen can't really contribute to the fight, and immediately, just as the fight starts, they're forced to disengage.
I mean, the Azir, Senna, Seraphine alone, they outrange, they outscale, they outdamage, they out DPS. There's so many factors. Rogue need a pixel-perfect engage. Sejuani ult Renekton TP onto a Senna or a Seraphine, get the kill. Larssen combo on the second rotation of CDs, and then Comp needs to find his way into these fights, but it's all just so difficult and so hard to pull off that G2 are just running them over.
G2 have just exploded this gold lead once again. You can see very even first 12, 13, 15 minutes of the game, and then G2 have taken advantage after advantage after advantage. Now they have 2 minutes on the Baron, and Rogue trying to lick their wounds, find a way back into this game, but you still don't even have 3 items on Comp. Look at the other side, Caps probably about 100 gold away. Oh, 1,000 gold away from his Rabadons.
Carry the 0.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a rounding error, right? He's very close to that 3rd item, already doing so much work in this tower in the bottom lane. G2's next target. Jankos dashes across the wall just to try and keep Rogue at arm's length. G2 will take their first inhibitor of the game, only 23 minutes in as well. After what was a slow early game, they really accelerated this one away from Rogue, and Rogue, their foot's been more on the brake than the accelerator. So like a Ferrari strategy, it seems.
Let's not forget that it was this roster that made the 12-0 run last split. They had an incredible performance after being knocked down into the lower bracket by Fnatic, 3-0, 3-0, 3-0, 3-0. They came into MSI 12-0. Their win record continued as they continued to dominate. They weren't dropping games at MSI. And I believe it was T1 that was the team that was able to usurp them in the end. But this roster, while there were some doubts around the regular season, especially given how they started, they finished the first half 4-5. Some question marks around could they find comfort in the meta? Could they really actually come together as a roster? Or perhaps it was just a bit of spring luck that they were able to find. But second half, 8-1. Came into playoffs 3-1 against Misfits, the most dominant series that we had. They come into game 1 against Rogue, who went toe-to-toe with Mad, and they've looked extremely solid and confident here in game 1 already. Yeah,
I remember we had Jankos and Euphoria after those first few weeks, and they said, if we have a very good record in the first 3 weeks, can we have a break? Because MSI was so shortly after into the summer season, and they said yes, because they had a good first couple weeks in the regular season, but that's when it started to fall apart. They were behind on the meta. They had to do a lot of catching up to do, but by the second half of the season, they showed how dominant they are. You talked about the 8-1 record, and now with this Baron buff, not much left of it. It's going to fade away now. They won't have it for this next wave, but maybe they can force the tower with Odoamne being body. Has TP. There's a ward just over the Baron pit, you can see on the minimap, and a ward behind them in the lane that Odoamne could TP to. They have a really good flank setup Rogue here if they want to try to collapse on them, but G2 as a death ball are just so powerful.
And when you've lost every fight until this moment, it can be a little bit difficult to pull the trigger on the next one. No TP going in from Odo, the tower falls, G2 will back away. And I will ask observers if we can just click on Targamas for a second. I want to see how many stacks this Senna is sitting at. 119. So not as high as he was last time he played it. I remember him being at about 140 at this point, but still pretty impressive. At 25 minutes, anything over 100, you're looking like a very long-range artillery cannon in that Senna. Now with rapid-fire cannon built as well, it's even longer range.
And a Rabadon's picked up for Caps. There's the 3 items complete. There's the gold that he needed. Rogue. Never really going to get better from this point onwards. They're inevitably going to have to fight the Soul. So 3 minutes time we will see a fight. 2 minutes on the Baron. G2 could also rush that one down before the Dragon spawns because of how powerful Caps is. So yeah, Rogue needs to be quick to react if they want to have even a slimmest of chance to bring this game back.
Yep, this game does feel done and dusted. Again though, our eyes are drawn to Con. 3 items done, the Infinity Edge is there. He has everything that he needs to have a Zeri moment. Question is, can Trymbi enable it, and will G2 give him the opportunity?
Jankos gonna go for this. EQ possibility, has knocked back those stunned, exhausted, Glacial Prism enough. The shutdown goes over to Trymbi, not the target you want, but they'll take whatever they can get at the moment. Odo looking for a bit more chase, BrokenBlade with a good Darking Blade. Knocks him up, Weaver's Wall, Larssen needs to jump off that one, look at his split. They're forcing as much as they can. But they don't really have any more engaged. Glacial Prism already down. Who's going to get into the midst of the fray? Who's going to get into the battle?
Forward for BrokenBlade.
BrokenBlade dashes to the side. Still taking quite a bit of damage from the Ultra Shock Laser, but the healing now coming in for G2. Flakked doing what he can. Larssen putting the damage down as well. And as you say, the range just too strong for G2. They walk forward in a 4v5, and they force Rogue away.
Jankos hovering from War, doesn't have the ultimate. Great pick for Rogue, but yeah, they just can't translate it into anything. Even if G2 had to back away there, there's still a minute on the Baron and 2 minutes on the Dragon, so there's no objectives for them.
You gotta feel frustrated if you're Rogue, because that is one of the rare times that you're able to catch Caps out like that. A really meaningful pick, but they just can't convert it into anything, and now it might be Malrang's life on the line.
Yeah, Malrang has flash, but he can't get out of this. 40 seconds on him, 40 seconds on the Baron.
Poor Malrang. Can we just pull one out for him? Doesn't even have a Mythic, had to go Warmog's first item, hasn't even completed his Mythic yet, so Jankos 3,000 gold ahead of Rogue's jungler right now. And with the Baron spawning at 30, I think, yeah, G2 would have started up.
It's a frustrating situation for Rogue to find themselves in. You could see in the jungle how obnoxious it was playing into Targamas and Flakked, because every time you tried to close the gap, there's always something just being thrown in your face, preventing you from actually closing the gap. And given that Malrang is the only real engage that you have, unless Odoamne is able to find a flank, G2 just get to keep Rogue at arm's length. With Malrang only just spawning now, G2 are going to melt through this Baron.
Definitely take it really quickly. 3 items on the Azir. It means it will melt like a hot knife through butter. Larssen, though, does have Unsealed Spellbook. And there is a possibility that he could steal this somehow. He's got the smite now. He could look for the flash. Larssen decides against it. Secured by Targamas of all people.
Ooh. I feel like Larssen could have gone for that. I wonder what Rogue's vision looked like, because there was a blue orb that was pinged. I wonder how much Larssen saw of the Baron before actually deciding going against flashing over that wall. But now with 30 seconds on the Dragon, there's no wards on Trymbi, so he's in a base to pick up some more wards to refresh. TP on the bot side by Caps.
It's a flank position. BrokenBlade here. Caps coming in from the side as well, as you say. Good stopwatch, and Larssen just absolutely eaten up by BrokenBlade. G2 have been on the wrong end of Aatrox in the past. This time it comes to their better. BrokenBlade forced into the GA, Odoamne forced away as well. EQ combo from Jankos will knock him up. BrokenBlade back to full HP, because of course he is. As G2 look for the chase, the charm just short comp, trying to do Zeri things, but what can you do in the face of G2? Another on the board to Jankos, he's on a rampage. G2 unrelenting in their aggression, will push in for the base.
And that's going to be it. They're going to end through bot here, G2. 29 minutes on the clock. It was G2 from start to finish. Rogue tried their best in the early stages, but G2 always had an answer in this game, one of the best of 5.
An absolute demolition, a show of force from G2 as they claim game 1.
G2 looking a cut above right now.
Yeah, an impressive game overall. G2, they've looked clean in their game 1s before. Of course, still a long series ahead of us, but Caps on Azir, the bot lane adaptation, the Senna Seraphine doing massive work, and overall just a really great play, and huge props to Targamas, kind of the quiet carry of that whole game. His roams to the top side early on, the way in which he was leveraging his range in these teamfights, the fact that he was willing to flash onto comp in that late game teamfight while not securing the kill, just showed how confident he was in this game. His long-range ultimates also contributing to these dives, just an overall very solid performance from the support of G2.
A lot to take away from this game 1 for Rogue as well. I think Azir is a must-pick, must-ban right now. We saw Cap's performance Earlier on last weekend, we saw it again this weekend on the Azir so far, and I think you're going to pick blue side as rogue, and you're going to first pick that Azir, and you're going to keep the similar kind of bands, but I don't think you can give that over.
I mean, it makes sense to put Larssen on his most played as well. It's not like you're picking it just to take it away from Caps, given Larssen Azir something he's been so confident in in his 200 games in the LEC. Of course, Rogue is struggling a little bit there, and I think they really need to find how they're going to play around these G2 compositions. But for now, we're going to hand it over to Sjokz, Treatz, and Guldborg, who are standing by to break down that game.
You're so nice, Medic. Struggled a little bit. They got stomped, bro. It was not a pretty game one, I think, for Rogue, unfortunately. Very convincing. Hey, it's not flame if it's what happened, okay?
Okay.
But let's talk about it then. In that draft order, I thought it was really interesting how Medic set it up there as well. In terms of Azir, I think we can agree, right? Caps is a monster on it. Larssen can also be a monster of it. But as we get the draft order up, there were a couple of things that specifically jumped out to you, right? GB, can you run us through it?
Yeah, I feel like coming through, like, obviously Azir is going to be a contested pick. And generally speaking, for the first 3 picks coming through from both teams, they still make sense to me. I feel like there's still good rotations. You get the Sejuani, it's a flex. You have Lulu, because Yuumi is already banned. And then you know that we will have 1 good enchanter for Zeri, we can come through with 3. But I think it's a really good adaptation that G2 then makes when they see this rotation.
Yeah, I think after this, after the 1-2-3 on both sides, I was expecting the Sejuani to be flexed until 5 on the side of Rogue. I think it's kind of weird that they break the flex early. It kind of tells me that they don't really have an answer into the Renekton. So I feel like this Renekton is kind of out of place, and I would rather just see a Taliyah there instead, and then a counter pick for Odoamne or for Malrang. So I think that already hurts Rogue's draft, especially in early game, because losing jungle priority and just having a Sejuani doesn't really do a lot for the early game. And as we highlighted before, right, they need Malrang to pop off in the early game.
And especially because their compositions become so short range all of a sudden. Yes, Zeri is fast if she gets to ramp up, but when you have Sejuani, Renekton, and Zeri, and they're playing against a Death Ball combo, which is a Sia, Aatrox, Seraphine that can just throw everything at you, you don't get that ramp up.
He said a Ooga Booga comp.
Yes, I mean, I like to call the G2 draft an Ooga Booga comp, right? They just have 5 champions with a bunch of AoE, a bunch of healing, a bunch of damage, and I think that from the side of Rogue, like the Taliyah and the Zeri just can't do enough damage this game. They just can't go through the front line of G2, and I think we saw that in this game, right? G2 got a slight lead, but it looked like even bigger lead because their comp was just so much better.
I like that you guys have pointed out that there's more than meets the eye in terms of the draft, that the fact that the flex wasn't held of the Sejuani were broken early indicates a certain top priority or champion pool. And the question, okay, would Odoamne go for that Aatrox in the future? I think that's really interesting. It's not always all that meets the eye, Treats. There's a lot behind the picks that we see.
There is for sure, and I think that Odoamne definitely is a big champion pool, right? But maybe he just felt like Renekton Sejuani, it's a strong combo, right? It's one of the old classics, and I think it's hard to say in game 1 because they're trying things out, right? Maybe they also come to the conclusion now, it's not gonna work.
Just to be clear, I see people online sometimes saying, oh, the analysts think a person doesn't play a pick. No, you're saying we haven't seen it as of recent, so we have no reason to believe.
Exactly, yeah.
And speaking of that, like in this game as well, we haven't often seen Rogue play up towards that top side, but in this game, it actually happened quite a bit with the skirmishes we saw up there. I think when you had Renekton into Aatrox, you know that early game you want to fight it. Sejuani doesn't do that too much. Luckily for them, they did have a Taliyah in the mid lane, and I think Larssen got pushed against Caps so many times that it allowed him to get up here if needed, but here I think they messed it up a little bit.
Yeah, I think both Targamas and Trymbi had really good reads on this play, and I think Targamas just had a bit more kill pressure here on the side of Odoamne, so I think both supports making a really early play up top was really impressive for me to see.
But it's weird because I see more Rogue players there initially, right? So you think they'd get the kill. That's an odd one, GB.
Yeah, I think it's just Rogue having a really good read on what's about to happen. They have to push in top, they have to push in mid.
Yeah,
it's
but my
easy
point
to
is they still missed the kill. So they're there first, they're there with more people.
Oh yeah, the execution goes wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where you're getting at 100% right. The call is correct. Execution fumbles, and I think that's a big one. But one that does not fumble, that's going to be this one instead.
Yeah, and I think in general the terrain just favors blue side there, right? Like they're under their tower, very easy path for Targamas to just walk through the tower. Meanwhile, Rogue just has to walk around the entire fat wall there. So I think like G2 just had an easier angle.
Shaving wall since 22.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but Targamas had an easy access there, and I think he played really well there.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? That the terrain is also important. And it's something you called out at the top of the day, saying Rogue often has the right view of things, but maybe not always the exact execution. And you guys wanted to dive a little bit deeper into why that all happened in
I mean, we have some hot telestrator coming up, I think. Is that
okay.
Is that what you can call it? And mostly
Scandinavian telestrator.
True that. Mostly what this telestrator is going to be about is rotations. We've called in Monte just to quickly go over a bird's eye view of the map here. And as you can see, you actually have a state where Rogue has pushed in the top lane, or bot lane rather. They have their members around ready to move down. And then you actually see the G2 bot lane moving up towards mid. Can you give your insights on towards the streets?
Yeah, I mean, they know that bot lane is completely open here, right? Rogue are sending everyone down, meanwhile they're taking Herald, so in their eyes they're like, we can't do anything on bot here, we're gonna move mid. And then we have this phrase in SK where we call this a demon shift, where one lane moves up to mid and the mid lane moves up to top right, and this is what G2 is doing here. Caps is moving up to dive Odoamne, meanwhile G2 bot lane is moving towards mid, so basically they're kind of covering the entire map right there. They put a lot of pressure on Rogue this way, and I think it's just a really good rotation overall.
And we can just cue the play right now. You can see exactly what's going to happen while that happens. So Larssen is back in the mid lane to shove in waves, but by the time that happens, well, Odoamne is getting doved on the top side, and Flakked and G2, they're collapsing on it. So as we pause the clip right here, what do you think the move is to make then, Treatz? Because I know you have a good idea of it.
Yeah, I was saying as well in the back room here that I think that right now with the Herald for G2, if they just reset and send BrokenBlade towards mid or bot here, they can just have a really strong Herald play.
Yeah, so he push in the top wave, then
Exactly,
he backs instantly, he can go mid, and then because that he's shoving at top lane, someone from Rogue is going to have to respond to that, and when they are responding to that, they would have time. But if we queue out the play, once again, you can actually see what's going to happen instead is the fact that it's a little bit of an off-tempo as you can go. Why is it the off-tempo happens here, Treatz?
Yeah, I mean, BB is kind of forced to take this tower by himself, and then he's forced to clear another wave, right? Because he doesn't want to leave that wave coming into him. So he's like, I'm going to clear this wave, and then I'm going to run mid. And I think it's still the correct call for BrokenBlade, but they're not really synced up on the Caps side lane and BB. You can see him basing right, meanwhile Caps is pushing bot. So ideally, they would have the same tempo, but this play still works out.
Yeah, so as we pause here, you can see that the reason where you would have gone would actually have been the wave before this actually happened. You wanted to go on the wave before Larssen, he was actually backing, while the members were still top. Because right now, it's only comp, and because it's only comp top, the rest of the Rogue members have started to gather around. But once again, crucial ward is coming through.
Yeah, and I think that they just don't expect BrokenBlade to be here, right, from Rogue side. They're like, there's a big top wave. Of course the top lane will go top, but they don't understand that BB is one step ahead of them in this rotation, and him going mid creates a big pick pressure here on Larssen where he's spacing.
And that means they have a 3 versus 3 in the mid lane. Comp is alone on top, and on the bot side, they will have a 2 versus 1 on Odoamne. So they create a man advantage and a man advantage in the mid lane in the sense that G2 actually have the tempo right now. Larssen haven't been back to back yet, and because he gets gone on instantly, well, as we roll out the clip, you'll see exactly what happens in just a bit here.
Yeah, I mean, mid lane just gets the kill on Larssen right when he's basing, and they keep pushing mid. They have the Herald for bot lane as well. They're just pushing 2 lanes, taking 2 towers, even 3 towers, right? And 1 kill. So this is just a beautiful sequence by G2. I think this is a perfect example to show the tempo of their team and how they understand tempo as a team as well. And they're very fast to pull the trigger.
Yep, and just like that, they create man advantages on the map, and we'll have to create another man advantage as the desk as we walk back there.
Man advantage, I'll take it. But G2...
Wait, it wasn't meant like that, actually.
I really love the bird's eye view and the way you guys explained that, because you can't always see it, right? The way we look at the game, but it is quite impressive the way they move around the map, indeed. Now, when it comes to the next draft, Rogue has chosen blue. The loser team gets to pick it, and I think that's normal. I wanted to highlight Targamas on Senna specifically as well. 100% kill participation, super important pick. We've seen it before from Targamas, but I think especially that combination with the Seraphine, not only the fact that it worked out is great for the win, but also in terms of draft, right? Because now they need to think about this on top of everything else.
Yeah, it puts a lot of pressure on draft, and I think that with the Seraphine pairing there on bot lane, it just creates such a good 5v5, and I think Targamas is a really good Senna, and I think he also plays it in a slightly different way than other Sennas. I think he also goes for these roams, right? Oftentimes Senna can be seen as only lane pick, where you play something like with the Tom Kench, right? But I think with the Seraphine, he's also free to move around the map and create plays as well.
Okay, does more than meets the eye. It's G2 that strikes first in this best of 5 first spot in the grand finals. What will Rogue's response be? We'll find out after this.
Whoa.
Even the biggest champ needs a break.